My friend, let me ask you something today. Are you tired, worn out, struggling with the weight of the world pressing down on your shoulders? I've got news for you. Not just good news, but life-changing news. You don't need another motivational video. You don't need another life hack. You don't need more money, more success, more followers, or more applause. You need truth. You need hope. You need a savior. Every morning you wake up, you are one decision away from a different life. And that decision starts in the heart. You were not created by accident. You were not put here just to survive. You were designed for a purpose far greater than you can imagine. But there's a problem, and that problem is sin. Sin separates us from peace. Sin separates us from joy. Sin separates us from the very one who gives life. But here's the miracle. There's a way back. There's a way home. There is grace. You see, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, there is a love that never lets go. There is a cross that still stands. And there is a Savior who still saves. You want to change your life? Then, every day, fix your eyes on the one who gave you life. Open your heart to the one who died to give you a new beginning. Watch this truth every single day. You are loved. You are not alone. You are forgiven, and you are called to walk in freedom. Don't waste another moment chasing things that cannot satisfy. This world promises pleasure but leaves you empty. It offers fame but leaves you forgotten. But there is one who will never leave you, never forsake you, and never give up on you. Come as you are. Come broken. Come weary. But come ready to be changed. Because when you surrender your life to the one who made you, that's when the real change begins. And that, my friend, is the message you need to hear every single day. Life change begins in the heart, not in your bank account, not in your job title, not in how many people follow you or admire you. It begins deep within, in the quiet place where no one else can see, the place where your thoughts, desires, and fears reside. The heart is the wellspring of life, and when it's out of order, everything else in your life will be too. You can change your environment, your routine, your appearance, but if your heart doesn't change, you'll find yourself in the same cycle again and again. We live in a world that tells us to fix the outside, buy this, achieve that, look this way, perform like this. But what happens when you finally get all those things and still feel empty? What happens when you've climbed the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall? That's when you realize true change can't be manufactured. It has to come from within. It's not about self-improvement. It's about heart transformation. The heart is where our motives are born. It's where our true character lives. You can fake a smile, you can dress up your pain, but what's in your heart will always find its way out. If your heart is full of anger, it will spill into your relationships. If it's full of fear, it will shape your decisions. If it's full of bitterness, it will poison your peace. That's why the condition of your heart is so important, because everything flows from it. But how does that change happen? It begins when we stop pretending and start being honest with ourselves and with God. When we admit that we've tried to fix things on our own and it didn't work. When we're willing to lay down our pride, our plans, our pain, and open our heart to something greater. That's when transformation begins. That's when God steps in and starts doing what only He can do. Because the truth is, only God can change a heart. We can try to be better, we can try to behave, but behavior modification without heart transformation is temporary. It's like trimming weeds instead of pulling them out by the root. You might feel a little better for a while, but eventually the same old patterns will come back. Only when the heart is made new can real lasting change take place. And God doesn't just want to improve your heart. He wants to renew it, to give you a new spirit, a new mindset, a new way of seeing the world. He doesn't shame you for where you've been. He meets you there. He doesn't expect you to clean yourself up before coming to Him. He says, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." That's where the healing begins. That's where the chains break. That's where peace that surpasses understanding enters in. Every day is another opportunity to let God shape your heart, to surrender the things that are weighing you down, to be honest about what's really going on inside. Because if you can get the heart right, the rest of your life will start to line up. Joy comes back. Purpose is rediscovered. Relationships are healed. And the things that once held you back no longer have power over you. So don't chase surface change. Don't settle for temporary fixes. Go deeper. Let your heart be changed. That's where real life begins. You were created with purpose. You are not a random collection of cells. You are not the result of chance or coincidence. Long before you were born, before your first breath, Before your first thought, there was intention behind your existence. You were formed with care, with detail, with love. You are not just a number, not just another face in the crowd. You were made on purpose, for a purpose. So many people walk through life feeling lost, like they're drifting through the days without meaning. They chase after things that promise fulfillment, success, approval, possessions, but they still feel that emptiness inside, that quiet whisper in their soul that says, there has to be more than this. There has to. And that whisper is right. There is more. Because you were not created just to exist. You were created to live, and to live with purpose. Purpose isn't about fame. It isn't about status. It's not about climbing some imaginary ladder or keeping up with someone else's expectations. Purpose is rooted in your identity. It's tied to who you are, not just what you do. You have unique gifts, unique experiences, and a unique story that no one else on earth can replicate. You were crafted with something to offer that this world desperately needs. And when you begin to walk in that truth, when you start to live from a place of identity and purpose, everything changes. Even your pain, your mistakes, your setbacks. They're not wasted. In fact, some of the most powerful purposes are born from broken places. That failure you thought disqualified you, it might be the very thing that shapes your mission. That wound you carry, it might become the source of healing for someone else. Nothing is wasted in the hands of the one who created you. What the world sees as a mess, God sees as material for a miracle. But you won't discover your purpose by accident. You won't stumble into it by following the crowd. Purpose is found when you stop and seek it. When you stop chasing what culture tells you matters. When you start listening to that still, small voice inside that's been trying to get your attention. The one that reminds you, you were made for more. There's a calling on your life, not just for the preachers or the authors or the people on stages. Every single person has a calling. That includes you. It may not look loud or dramatic, but it's just as important. Maybe you're called to raise a family with love and strength. Maybe you're called to bring light into dark places. Maybe you're called to speak truth where others stay silent. Whatever your purpose is, it's significant, it matters, and the world needs it. There's a reason you wake up every morning. There's a reason you've made it this far. You may have had days where you didn't think you'd survive, and yet, here you are. That's not an accident. That's not luck. That's purpose preserving you until it's your time to step fully into it. You may not see the full picture yet, but every step, every season, every moment is part of the journey. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need all the answers. You just need to take the next step in faith, trusting that you were made for something greater, trusting that your life carries meaning, even in the quiet, even in the chaos. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are seen, you are chosen, and you are here right now for a reason. Sin is the barrier to peace and joy. It's the invisible wall that stands between us and the life we were meant to live. It's subtle, sometimes even disguised as freedom, but its effect is deep and devastating. We were created for relationship with God, with others, and with ourselves. But sin disrupts that connection. It separates, it divides, it twists what was meant to be beautiful and turns it into something broken. It doesn't just damage our actions, it poisons our hearts. Many people today are searching for peace. They look for it in distractions, in relationships, in money, in entertainment, in substances. But no matter how much they chase, peace always seems just out of reach. Because peace isn't found in the absence of problems, it's found in the presence of God. And sin keeps us from entering that presence. It creates a distance, it creates shame. It tells us we're too far gone, too flawed, too dirty to come close. And in that space, joy fades. Not because God withdraws his love, but because sin hardens our hearts to it. Joy isn't just about being happy, it's deeper than that. Joy is the settled assurance that no matter what happens, you're held, you're known, and you're secure. But sin whispers the opposite. It tells you that you're not enough, that you're unlovable, that you're too broken to be whole again. And when you believe that voice, the joy that once gave you strength begins to slip away. Sin doesn't always look like rebellion. Sometimes it looks like pride. Sometimes it looks like control. Sometimes it looks like choosing our own way, thinking we know better. It's not always dramatic or loud. It can be quiet compromise, hidden resentment, bitterness, or envy we've justified for too long. But over time, it chips away at our spirit. It dulls our sensitivity to truth. It numbs our ability to love deeply or to receive love freely. The danger of sin is that it promises life but delivers death. It promises satisfaction but leaves us empty. It tells us we're chasing freedom when in reality we're walking into chains. It offers moments of pleasure that come with long seasons of regret. And the worst part is, it makes us think we can't turn back, that we've gone too far, that we've burned the bridge. But even then, even in our darkest moment, grace is still calling. Sin is powerful, but it's not final. The story doesn't end there. The very reason we feel the ache, the very reason peace and joy seem missing, is because we were made for more. We were made to walk in truth, in light, in love. And when sin gets in the way, it's not just about behavior. It's about our soul being disconnected from the source of life. No wonder we feel anxious. No wonder we feel lost. Without that connection, we're like branches cut off from the vine. We can't produce fruit. We can't thrive. But the moment we stop running, the moment we humble ourselves and admit we need help, that's when everything starts to shift. That's when the barrier begins to break. Because grace doesn't wait for us to be perfect. It just waits for us to be honest. And when we lay our sin down, when we let go of the lies and the shame and the pride, peace floods in. Joy returns. Not because we earned it, but because we finally let God restore what sin tried to steal. The barrier isn't permanent. It's not stronger than love. It's not bigger than grace. But it must be acknowledged. It must be brought into the light. Because only when we face it can we be free from it. And only in that freedom can peace and joy truly take root again. There is grace and a way back. No matter how far you've gone, no matter how many wrong turns you've taken, the road home is not closed. You may feel lost, like you've wandered too far off course to be found. But grace is not limited by distance. Grace reaches into the darkest places. It finds you when you've stopped looking for a way out. It doesn't wait for you to have everything together. It shows up in your brokenness and offers you a hand. We live in a world quick to judge and slow to forgive. People keep records, hold grudges, and love conditionally. But grace is different. Grace is undeserved favor. It doesn't come because you've earned it. It comes because love refuses to give up on you. Grace sees the worst in you and still believes in your best. It doesn't excuse sin, it confronts it. But it does so with compassion, not condemnation. Some people think they've messed up too badly, that they've crossed a line they can't uncross. They think their story is too stained to be rewritten. But grace doesn't look at the size of the sin, it looks at the power of the cross. And the cross says it is finished. The price has already been paid. You don't need to live under shame. You don't have to carry the burden of your past. There's a way back. And the way isn't paved with guilt, it's paved with love. The beauty of grace is that it's not just for the clean and polished. It's for the weary, the wounded, the ones who've failed again and again. Grace doesn't say, come when you're ready. It says, come as you are, with your doubts, with your struggles, with your fears. Grace meets you in your mess, not after you've cleaned it up. It doesn't push you away, it pulls you in. There are moments in life when we feel like giving up, not just on circumstances, but on ourselves. We look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. But even in those moments, grace is present, whispering, you are not beyond redemption. There is still hope, there is still purpose, there is still a future. The path back may feel long, but you don't walk it alone. Grace walks with you step by step. You might not be able to undo the past, but you can choose what happens next. The enemy of your soul wants you to believe that you're stuck, that change is impossible. But grace says otherwise. Grace says your story can be rewritten, that beauty can rise from ashes, that joy can return to sorrow, and that what the enemy meant for harm, God can use for good. The way back isn't about proving yourself. It's not about performance. It's not about being religious or perfect. It's about surrender. It's about saying, I can't do this on my own. It's about trusting the one who can. It's about opening your heart, letting go of pride, and receiving the gift you could never earn. Grace is a gift. It cannot be bought, but it can be received. And once grace finds you, it doesn't leave you the same. It transforms you. It restores what was broken. It heals what was wounded. It brings peace where there was chaos. The road back may have twists and turns, but it leads somewhere beautiful. And if you're wondering whether it's too late, let this be your answer. As long as there is breath in your lungs, there is grace for you. There is a way back. True love and acceptance are found in God. In a world that constantly demands performance, appearance, and perfection, we often find ourselves chasing love in all the wrong places. We look to people, possessions, and achievements to validate our worth. We mold ourselves to fit in, to be chosen, to feel like we matter. But deep down, even in the middle of success or attention, there can be a gnawing emptiness. A voice that says, if they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. That fear, that ache, that constant striving, it all points to one thing: a hunger for real love, not temporary approval, not shallow affection, but unconditional, unwavering, unshakable love. And that kind of love can only be found in God. God's love isn't like the love we often experience from others. Human love can be fickle, conditional, and fragile. People change, feelings fade, promises break, but God's love never changes. It's not based on what you do, it's rooted in who He is. He is love. Not just loving, but love itself. That means He doesn't just act in love, He is love at His very core, and everything He does flows out of that perfect love. It's not earned, it's not transactional, it's offered freely, even when we least deserve it. Many people spend their whole lives trying to earn acceptance. They carry wounds from rejection by parents, friends, partners, even themselves. They believe the lie that they're not enough, not worthy, not lovable. But God sees every flaw, every scar, every failure, and He still says, "You are mine." His acceptance doesn't come after you fix yourself. It's not reserved for the polished, the righteous, or the religious. It's for the broken, the weary, the ones who've fallen and feel too ashamed to stand again. In the eyes of God, you are not a mistake. You are not an afterthought. You are not too damaged to be loved. You are seen completely and loved completely. Nothing is hidden from Him, yet nothing disqualifies you from His embrace. That is what makes His love so radical. It doesn't wait for you to become lovable. It loves you into transformation. It accepts you as you are, but it doesn't leave you as you are. Real love doesn't look away when things get messy. It leans in, it stays, it heals. That's the kind of love God gives. It's patient when we wander. It's kind when we're hard on ourselves. It keeps no record of wrongs when we've turned back to Him. It's a love that sacrificed everything, even His Son, so that we could be brought near again. The cross isn't just a symbol of forgiveness. It's the greatest display of love and acceptance the world has ever seen. It says, you are worth dying for. When you begin to rest in God's love, you stop striving for approval that doesn't satisfy. You stop performing for acceptance you already have. You begin to live from a place of peace, knowing that nothing you do can make God love you more, and nothing you've done can make Him love you less. That changes everything. It gives you the courage to be honest, the strength to heal, and the freedom to grow. God's love redefines your identity. You're not what others have called you. You're not the sum of your mistakes. You are a beloved child, chosen and cherished. That kind of love isn't just comforting, it's life-altering. It gives you a foundation no storm can shake. It gives you belonging that no rejection can take. And once you've encountered that love, you'll never settle for anything less again. Daily focus on truth leads to transformation. The world is filled with noise, opinions, distractions, lies that come wrapped in confidence. Everywhere you turn, there's a new voice trying to tell you who you are, what matters, and how you should live. If you're not careful, you start to believe things that sound right, but slowly pull you away from who you were meant to be. That's why truth isn't just helpful, it's essential. And not just once in a while, not only on the good days, but every single day. Because what you feed your mind and your heart shapes the life you live. Truth grounds you, it clears away confusion, it reminds you of what's real when the world feels chaotic and uncertain. But truth isn't something you stumble into, it's something you pursue. And that pursuit has to be consistent. Transformation doesn't come from a one-time encounter, it comes from daily alignment. Each day that you choose to set your eyes on what's real and eternal, something begins to shift inside you. Your thoughts change, your choices change, your character begins to take shape in a new direction. The truth is not just a concept, it's a person. It's found in God, in His Word, in His voice that still speaks to hearts willing to listen. When you begin your day anchored in His truth, you're not just checking off a spiritual to-do list. You're setting the tone for your whole life. You're reminding your soul who's in charge. You're rejecting fear and choosing faith. You're trading anxiety for peace, lies for promises, and insecurity for identity. Transformation happens from the inside out. It doesn't start with behavior, it starts with belief. What you believe about God, about yourself, and about the world around you will ultimately shape the way you live. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll settle for less than you were made for. If you believe you're alone, you'll live like everything depends on you. But when you choose to focus on truth daily, you begin to see life through a new lens. You realize you are loved, chosen, equipped, and never alone. And that realization brings change. This is why truth must be your foundation. Not trends, not public opinion, not your feelings, because feelings change, but truth doesn't. When you let truth define you, you don't have to live on an emotional roller coaster. You can stand firm even when everything around you feels like it's shaking. You can speak life instead of fear. You can respond with grace instead of anger. You can walk in confidence because you know who you are and whose you are. But it takes intention. It takes a decision each day to tune out the noise and tune in to what matters. It's opening your heart before God and saying, show me what's real. Help me see clearly. And over time, this daily habit of truth becomes your strength. It becomes your clarity in the chaos. It becomes the voice that quiets the lies and keeps you rooted. There's power in repetition. When you hear the truth every day, when you speak it, meditate on it, live by it, it becomes your reality. It shapes your identity, your relationships, your choices. It transforms the way you think and eventually the way you live. You stop being driven by the opinions of others. You stop living in reaction to your past. You start walking with purpose and peace because truth has taken root. And the more you stay in truth, the more you change, not into someone else, but into who you were always meant to be. Not a copy of the world, but a reflection of something eternal, unshakable, and real. The world offers emptiness. God offers fulfillment. Everywhere we look, the world seems to promise everything we're searching for: success, happiness, wealth, power, status, and love. It paints a picture of the ideal life, shiny, glamorous, and effortless, and tells us that if we just reach it, everything will fall into place. But the more we chase after these things, the more we realize that they don't bring lasting satisfaction. Instead of filling the emptiness inside, they often leave us feeling more hollow, more restless, and more disconnected. The emptiness that the world offers isn't necessarily obvious at first. It's not always the absence of something, but the constant striving to fill a void that never quite seems to be filled. You get the promotion you've been working for, but instead of peace, there's a new pressure. You find the relationship you think will bring happiness, only to realize that true contentment isn't found in another person, no matter how wonderful they are. You buy the things you've always wanted, only to discover that material possessions never satisfy the deeper longing of your heart. It's a cycle that repeats itself because the things of this world are fleeting. They're momentary. They can't sustain you in the way your soul longs to be. The emptiness the world offers comes from a lie that fulfillment can be found in things or in achievements. It encourages us to look outward, to compare ourselves to others, to accumulate wealth or recognition or experiences in the hope that one day we'll feel complete. But no matter how much we have, we're still left with a longing. The world offers a quick fix, a temporary distraction, but it can't fill the deepest parts of who we are. God, on the other hand, offers fulfillment that lasts. True fulfillment doesn't come from accumulating more or performing better. It doesn't come from outside of you, but from within. It's found in knowing who you are, in understanding your purpose, and in being rooted in a love that never fades. God's fulfillment isn't about what you can achieve. It's about who you are in Him. It's about being in a relationship with your Creator, knowing that you are deeply loved and completely accepted, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are in His eyes. God's fulfillment is not a fleeting moment of happiness. It's peace that surpasses understanding. It's joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on the constant, unchanging presence of God in your life. It's purpose that transcends the temporary pursuits of the world. It's fulfillment that goes beyond accomplishments or possessions, because it's grounded in something eternal. When you seek fulfillment in God, you stop looking to the world to complete you, and instead you discover the completeness that comes from being united with your Creator. This kind of fulfillment transforms you. It shifts your perspective. No longer do you need to prove yourself, to compare, to strive endlessly for recognition or approval. You realize that you are enough just as you are, because God's love is enough. You don't need to chase after the world's definition of success or happiness, because you already have something far more valuable: peace with God and the assurance that you are His beloved. Fulfillment in God is also not dependent on circumstances. It's not about whether life is going well or if everything is falling apart. It's about knowing that no matter what, you are held, you are loved, and you are purposefully placed in this world to fulfill a greater calling. When you find your fulfillment in God, you are free from the endless pursuit of external validation, and instead, you rest in the truth that you are secure, loved, and valuable. In a world that constantly offers distractions, illusions, and temporary fixes, God offers something far better, a deep, lasting fulfillment that doesn't depend on what you have or don't have, but on who He is and who you are in Him. His fulfillment is unshakable, and it is the only true source of peace and contentment that the world can never offer. Come as you are, but be ready to be changed. This simple invitation is one that resonates deeply with the human heart. It speaks to the part of us that longs to be accepted, to be loved, without conditions or expectations. It assures us that we don't have to be perfect, don't have to have it all together, to be welcomed into the embrace of grace. The beauty of this invitation is that no matter where we are, no matter how broken, confused, or lost we may feel, we are invited to come just as we are. But there is something even more profound in this invitation. While God welcomes us in our mess, He refuses to leave us there. When we come as we are, we open ourselves up to transformation, to becoming something new. This invitation is not just a pass to stay stuck in our struggles. It's an invitation to begin a journey toward wholeness, healing, and growth. The grace that accepts us doesn't leave us in our pain or our mistakes. It meets us where we are, but doesn't leave us the same. Change is at the heart of the gospel message, not a change imposed from the outside, but a transformation that begins in the heart and works its way through every part of our lives. This is the beauty of God's love. It doesn't just accept us, it heals us, renews us, and calls us to something greater. The first part of the invitation, coming as we are, reminds us that we don't have to earn God's love. It's freely given, available to anyone who will receive it. It's a love that doesn't require us to clean up our act first to be good enough or to have all the answers. We don't have to be perfect to be accepted. We simply need to be honest with God about where we are. This honesty, this willingness to come without pretense, is where true transformation begins. So often, we hide our struggles, thinking that God won't accept us if we're too messy, too imperfect, too broken. But God's invitation isn't to those who have it all together. It's to the weary, the burdened, the ones who are searching for something more than what the world offers. It's an open door to anyone who's willing to lay down their pride and come as they are. But there is a challenge in this invitation, and it lies in the second part. Be ready to be changed. God doesn't just welcome us into His presence. He invites us to be transformed by it. Coming as we are is the first step, but we are not meant to remain where we are. The grace that welcomes us is not static, it's dynamic. It moves us. It calls us to leave behind the things that hold us back and step into a new way of living. Transformation is not always comfortable, it's not always easy, but it's necessary for us to become the people we were always meant to be. This change is not something we can accomplish on our own. It's the work of the Holy Spirit within us, shaping our hearts, renewing our minds, and guiding our actions. It's the process of becoming more like Christ, loving more deeply, forgiving more freely, walking in humility, and living with purpose. The change God brings in us isn't about external behavior modification, it's about internal heart transformation. It's a shift in the way we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. And while it can be challenging, it's ultimately liberating. It frees us from the chains of sin, fear, and shame that have held us back. It frees us to live fully, to love deeply, and to step into the destiny God has for us. When we come as we are, we bring our hurts, our doubts, our failures, and our fears, and God receives us with open arms. But He also meets us in those places and says, "You don't have to stay here. There is more for you." And as we allow Him to work in our hearts, we begin to see the change, not overnight, but steadily over time. Our desires change, our habits change, our perspectives change, and in the end, we become more fully the person God created us to be. A person who reflects His love, His grace, and His purpose in the world. Coming as we are is the beginning of a journey. It's not the end. And that's the beauty of it. The invitation is open to all, but it doesn't leave us where we start. It calls us higher, deeper, and further into the life that God has always intended for us. The transformation may take time, but the promise is sure. If we come, if we are willing to be changed, we will find ourselves becoming more than we ever thought possible.